By Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome in Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. We are going to have so many things to get to here today, folks, on the show. We're going to try to work through it all, but we're definitely going to talk about everything going on in the sports world. Have an SEC update for you presented by Rhoback. Definitely getting the best and worst of the weekend presented by the Leroy Lounge, and sure we'll have plenty to say on that too. Do a little basketball talk, but right now it's all about the transfer portal season around college football, but particularly the Razorbacks. It's officially open today. And there's already been some significant news. Unfortunately, not yet any additions, but some additional subtractions. The secondary for the Razorback defense has been absolutely gutted, but the biggest names in that, of course, is the Metcalf brothers of TJ and Tevis Metcalf. Guys, officially entered into the portal, as well as some others we'll talk about, but this one was another significant blow to the Razorback football team next season.
Yep. I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel today. You all can decide if you think this is good news or bad news or whatever. But a big time significant contributor to your defense is gone, and somebody that they were very excited about the future of gone as well. And we're getting closer and closer to the point to where there just ain't much returning for Arkansas to be super, super excited about, especially there on the back end of the defense. So yeah, they're going to start adding guys at some point, but kind of like we said, the more losses that they take, the less impact that makes, because you can't continue to improve. You just got to replace. And that's a good way to wind up with the exact type of results that you've been getting.
Yeah, we keep saying that, guys, we're reporting on all the bad news. We're reporting on all the exits, but soon we'll have good news for you. And eventually there will be that. But again, just another stream that we're doing that covers an exit, not so an entrance. But yeah, Curtis, you said it there. Like it's you just don't have much returning. And look, everyone kind of views it as, oh, college football is this wild, wild west where everyone's replacing their entire roster every year. Everyone has new players every year, which is true to an extent, but you do have to have some type of core to build around, some type of stability, some type of just group of players. You need to be getting players from the portal as well as high school, as well as returning guys. You have to kind of have all three. And Arkansas right now might not have any. They might not have any actual contributors in their freshman class. They might not have a ton of actual contributors returning on their roster. And obviously they're going to bring in a ton of transfer guys. They'll make moves that they need to make. But again, it just comes back to, are these guys that we're talking about, whether it's Braxton, whether it's Metcalf, whether it's Has, Kudus, whatever, every time one of these guys enter the portal, we get told by the fan base, hey, no, they're all replaceable. I mean, this guy's completely replaceable. He wasn't that good. Which, whether or not that's true, sure, Arkansas can replace these guys, but you have to replace these guys and build an adequate roster around them and fill out other needs that your team has. And so, again, this battle that Arkansas is going to face in this transfer portal just gets more and more uphill as the days go by. I tweeted out earlier, that's now 7 actual starters that have entered the portal for Arkansas in the last 5 days. And look, it's still early in this process. This is the first day that the portal has opened. So, again, there's going to be plenty of guys that Arkansas brings in, but there's just more and more pressure on that process happening now. And so I would love to see what other SEC school this is happening at. I know that everyone has portal entries. Everybody has guys they got to replace, but 7 starters in 5 days seems not ideal.
I will add 2 things real quick. One being, it's, you talked about kind of the reactions that we have been getting. It's all over the place. This news with the Metcalfs, I'm not saying it's the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's been a lot less split between the people saying, whatever, 6-6 team getting rid of players, who cares? They're going to upgrade. And at least in my mentions, it's been a lot more, this ain't good, man. I'm like, this one got people, because I think people really appreciated, what TJ did this year. And when you have a family that's engaging, with the fan base and everything, that plays a role into it as well. So those are things, there to keep in mind that I'm monitoring. And the other thing I'll say is, yes, they are absolutely going to start adding some guys, and they'll get some good players that are worth being excited about. The hits aren't done. This ain't over in terms of the bad news. So just go ahead and understand that now. Like, more is coming. More is on the horizon.
I want to throw this into there too, guys. And I don't know, maybe you can double check for me. I went to the Arkansas Razorbacks.com official website and to just look at the roster and kind of get an idea of where everything's at and look at some stats and everything. We know that like Dylan Haas, for instance, entered into the portal today, Wook's little brother. He's on the roster. The Metcalf brothers are not. Like, they're gone from the website. Now, and there's even other players that are technically in the portal that are still on the website. So I just thought that was interesting, for one. And two, I know some people saw the Wright's barbecue tweet, and some things that came from that and all that. And I'm not going to speak for Jordan or for any of those guys over there. And I know there's a lot of crazy things behind the scenes, but I will say this. One of the important things that I remember when I was working at 103.7 The Buzz and we had NIL deals with particular players at the University of Arkansas, there was always, contract deals and working it out. And most of the time with The Buzz, it was like once a week. You come on for an interview. Now, there were players that fulfilled that and did that, but there were other players that pieced out after about 2, 3, 4 weeks. And a lot of those players signed a deal, and even demanded that they wanted, hey, I want my money up front. Well, you want to do what's right. Hey, yeah, we'll give you my front as long as you honor this. And then they don't. And then suddenly you're in a spot of like, okay, so what do we do now? Are we going to sue a 19, 20-year-old kid? No. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So I know people will be bringing that up, but there's just a lot of things around the NIL stuff that I'm sure played a little bit of a factor into it. But just still a very shocking and unfortunate thing where, I know you guys got it too, of people just begging for good news, people begging for it. And it will come. Like, it really will. You will get some additions out of the portal that you can be excited about, or that could be really great for what they're going to be looking at. But just right now, where it stands at 12:08 on Monday, December 9th, you're gutted, man. You're completely done with so many of these players to where us three may have to step in, guys, and play at that in that Liberty Bowl. We may have to do the sacrifice because that's about all they're going to have at this point in time.
I don't want those problems, man. I don't know that Texas Tech is a very physical football team. They're probably more physical than me. I don't want that.
Yeah, well, I saw someone tweet there like, "Hey, man, you're gonna have to strap up the pads and go to Memphis." I was like, "I might have some pads, but I ain't going to Memphis." That's where you lost me. I don't want to have to go to Memphis for multiple days.
Yeah, no, that's the unfortunate thing too. Is just not the bowl game being fortunate or unfortunate, but just not knowing what the roster is going to look like and if you're going to have anybody in place there. And I even saw a tweet. I wish I still had it. I think it was one of the 24/7 transfer portal or whoever. But they said that day one a year ago for the transfer portal opening up, they had like 591 entries. Today, before noon, they had 588 entries. So almost the exact same, but in half the time and half the day. So yeah, it's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild time. And the only ones, of course, that we had today, as mentioned, Caden Henley, the linebacker, as well as Tevis and TJ Metcalf and Dylan Haas. Those are the 4 at this point in time that have entered into the portal for Arkansas today. And we'll see how it all plays out. But portal season, man. It's fun, right? It's fun. It's fun to see how it all changes.
Yeah. I mean, it is, like it's entertaining, like I don't know that it's fun yet. Maybe it'll get more fun, but it is entertaining to watch and monitor. A lot of big names, throughout the country hitting the portal. And that's always exciting because you automatically go, can my team get that dude? Which, in Arkansas's case, you're not seeing their name pop up with a lot of the top end guys right now. But then, yeah, when it's your dudes who are hitting the portal, especially the ones where they're good enough to where the other teams are going, oh, I like that. Like guys are getting crystal ball to Ole Miss and stuff. That's enough to piss you off. So I wouldn't call that fun, but it's wild times, man, for sure. That is exactly what it is. And this is the first time I followed the football portal as closely. Like always kind of have your eyes on it or whatever, but basketball portal's been my thing. And this is even crazier, man. There's just so many names. It's unreal. And then so many more people that you have to replace, like basketball with Muss. Stuff was crazy, man. They go get a half dozen guys or whatever. I mean, Arkansas is going to wind up losing more than 20, and they're going to have to bring in more than 20 in football this year. It's freaking insanity, man. And it's never ending.
Yeah, man. I think back to that 2022 transfer class they had, which was ranked 8th or 9th in the country, depending on where you looked, and was, one of the best ones. I mean, probably the best one they've brought in. And we think it was an awesome class. It had a lot of good players in it. it had only 10 players total. Like Arkansas is going to need 10 players like at one position group. Like it's just the quantity is a lot. And look, you know what you said at the start of the show, Curtis, was you're not going to react, one way or the other, positively, negatively. Just going to kind of present the information is what it is. I'm going to try to do the same thing because look, like I said, this is day one of the portal situation. Like Arkansas, there's going to be another end of it where Arkansas brings in players, and we'll get to react to that and see what it means for this program. So like, there's plenty of time for like things to change, good or bad or indifferent. And so like, look, we'll see how it plays out. But again, we did this whole thing 2 weeks ago where Sam Pittman says, oh, well, we think we've got a level playing field. Revenue sharing is we got a way to make that work. We feel like we've got a chance to go out there and build a championship roster. And I said in the moment on this show, I don't believe that I don't believe what he's saying. I don't believe that the revenue sharing is really going to level the playing field that much to where Arkansas can now build a championship roster, but I'm willing to hear him out and see how it looks. And I also said then we will find out in the next few weeks if that's true or not. And again, I'm going to say that now. We'll find out. I mean, because look, you kind of set this. We can only take you at your word, Sam Pittman and Hunter Yurachek. Like you have said, hey, just give us this one more year and we'll make it work and we'll get a great roster in year 2 of Bobby. Okay, we will see how that goes. We will let you cook. See what you here's some grease. See what you can cook. But I don't know. We'll see.
I will just throw this out there to your point, because the revenue sharing is something that's been mentioned over and over. And one of the things from Sam Pittman was, hey, if somebody's offering $200K more or whatever, and you can't match that, like you'd leave too, this and that and the other. But so far, I'm not saying every one of these decisions has been made is because of NIL. I'm sure some of it hasn't, or it's a conglomeration of factors there. But I mean, have they really been able to pay up and retain some of these guys, or are they just content on letting them all go because they think they're going to go out and replace it? Like, I mean, what's the plan here? Because that's one thing I thought is that the retention would be better because you would have the opportunity to go to these guys and say, hey, we really like you. We want to keep you. Here's your raise or your new contract or whatever. And, but we just got one important piece after another going out the door.
Well, and look, for every fan that's been in our mentions that have been like, this is a disaster, the team's ruined, 2-10, this sucks. I'll have another that'll be like, well, it's from a 6-6 team. Do we really even want to keep those players anyway? And to your point, Curtis, about the money, it's like, hey, is it worth it to pay a bunch of money to Lucas to keep him whenever that you really would rather use that in the portal? I can hear that argument as well. I'll let that one play out as well. But again, we're going to find out. Like Arkansas is going to have a portal class that they put together in the next few weeks. We'll get to see if it really was, this awesome. They were playing chess the whole time. They had a plan. And look, I'm not trying to make light of the situation. Like I really do think this coaching staff has somewhat of a plan. I don't know what their plan is or if it's good or bad, but like I'm sure they're having these same conversations we're having about what they're going to do. So I'm willing to give them time to figure out what they got to do. And I know it looks worse now than it probably will in a week. Like I'm willing to be patient and give it time. But again, you're just putting a lot of pressure on what you have to do in the portal. And again, I've said this 1,000 times now. We knew Arkansas was going to have to do a lot of work in the portal coming into the offseason. You're just adding on to what the task is getting harder as these legitimate starters that you weren't really prepared for leaving are leaving. And so again, maybe Arkansas can just go out there and flip it all around. We'll see. I mean, I'm not going to freak out until the end of the offseason, but it is currently, I'm very, very much skeptical.
And you have every reason to be. I'll say this too about with like the NIL and all of that, because what you guys said nailed it. But it's kind of the same thing how I look at it with basketball season. I bring this up all the time, but if Arkansas basketball ends up at the end of this season and in postseason play going to in a Sweet 16 or Elite 8, no one's going to look back and be like, hey, remember that time that they lost to that terrible team on the road and how bad and embarrassing of a loss that is? Like, no one's going to remember that. And it's kind of the same thing where in NIL and with transfer portal, no one's going to remember how many players you lost if you ended up gaining and ended up having big time additions to the portal. They're not going to remember, hey, remember when we lost this person? It's not. You got to wait till the end. But the point is that you can still be upset in those moments. In those games you lose to those teams you shouldn't, you can still be upset and critical in those moments. But the end game is what it's all about. And that's what Arkansas is going to have to wait on. They're going to have to wait on the end game. And it's just patience are wearing really thin. It's kind of like, yeah, you're still in the NCAA tournament as a bubble team, but you've lost 9 in a row. So you're like, okay, you're really hurting me now. Like, give me something. Give me something to start thinking good about and positive about. And it's just not there. It's not there currently, but it could get turned around here in a bit. And I did want to pass this message along because, again, this was people have been bringing up the Wright's barbecue thing. It looks like that things have been resolved with what Wright's was doing and with the Metcalfs and all that. So want to get that message out there just so people don't think anything otherwise. Or it's been resolved. And it's also one of the deals that Wright's has been doing has been raising funds for pediatric brain cancer and have a fundraiser. And the Metcalf family donated a large portion to that. So just to pass that along for everybody to know that it's not just like, oh, he's just tweeting that out, because no, there's been some resolution to that and it's been really good. So just wanted to clarify that and pass that along.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. And I'll provide an example kind of what we're talking about. And then I'm going to move on from it, because I know that we just continue to, I think we really try to go out of our way to explain both sides of the coin and, be measured, and I think we're thinking almost too much about, all right, I'm going to say this, but I know what the retort's going to be. So I'm going to get out in front of that too. The hell with that. We don't have all day. My point about losing guys, replacing them, whatever, I'm already hearing some stuff, scuttlebutt out there. That's like, yeah, like it stinks that they're losing the Metcalfs, but they've already got a better replacement lined up. Right. That's true. Hell, I don't know. But I think here's the thing. If you do, okay, cool. I mean, that's a good thing, but you already needed another safety anyway, even if you still had Metcalf. So how cool would it have been to get that guy and have TJ coming back? You know what I mean? But instead, you're going to have to go out and get another one and another one and another one. And that piles up. That's my point about wanting to add on to what you should have coming back. That makes this more and more complicated. Maybe you get a little bit better at that position. And I don't know that you're going to be able to. I'm just throwing that out as an example. But are you going to be able to make those improvements at 14, 15, 16 starter spots to where you are a measurably better team next year and be able to add the depth? That's where, like Andrew, you're talking about your skepticism. That's where mine's at. I don't doubt that they're going to get some good players, but like, are you going to wind up at the end of the day being just no doubt better than you are right now? It's going to be tough, man.
Curtis, I'm inspired by your comments, and so I'm going to take a page out of your playbook of what you just did, and I'm going to stop trying to worry about what everyone else is saying, trying to answer everyone's questions. I'm just going to give you my honest opinion. Arkansas is absolutely boned. They really are. I mean, they shouldn't have retained Sam Pittman. We said that in the moment, and I know we're not going to keep having that conversation, but they shouldn't have kept Sam Pittman. The entire case for it was that, well, you can keep some of your team together. Clearly, that's not true. On both sides of the ball, they don't really have any stability. They don't have a great freshman class coming in. They are not really in the mix for any of these top transfers that we see being tweeted out by On3. Every list I see of a top guy, his offers are, oh yeah, he's interested in Georgia, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, whatever. I don't see Arkansas in any of those lists. They got a JUCO defensive back on campus today. Whoopee. Great. You've got a 5'8" receiver coming in a couple days. Again, we thought that Arkansas was going to need to have a much better roster in 2025 to improve their 6-6 record. Not only are they not going to have a much better roster, it's going to be a much worse roster. So, yeah, I think Arkansas is in a lot of trouble. I would love to be proven wrong by them going out there and getting a portal class. But like you said, they're going to be able to replace some of these guys. But again, are they really going to have actual depth? Are they really going to be an upgrade from what they had last year? No, they're not.
No, and I don't know how anybody can say that. Like, say that it is. And, with what I'm saying with adding young guys out of the portal, do I believe that's going to happen? No. And under no circumstances do I believe that they're going to go into this portal class and get better players, not only just to replace the ones they lost, but to add to the ones that they need. I don't believe it. And because there's no reason for me to believe it. And we're just sitting here, and I say we as a collective unit of fans and everybody, but just sitting here waiting, and all we hear is subtraction, bad things. And so it doesn't give really any light or any sort of feeling that it is going to get better. But I feel like proof is going to be in the pudding when it comes to NIL. If we've heard it, it's better. Okay, show it. It's not simply of, oh, we'll believe you for no reason. No, you got to show it. Because if you can't, you're losing all this. Apparently some NIL's coming off the books. So let's see it. Let's see if this is as good as what you have tried to portray and try to make it out to be.
And that's also, people say that a lot. It's like, okay, let's say Landon Jackson's making a $500,000. I'm just throwing that out there. He's a $500,000. So he's leaving. That money's coming off the books. So you have $500,000 to give to somebody else. That's not how it works. Like, it's not like it just comes off their actual books, and what you use this last year, you definitely have next year. Sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less, and it's all about who's making those donations and, whatever else. So yeah, in the perfect world, you look at it and you're like, oh damn, like all of their starters have left. Whatever they were getting paid, they're going to have that and some to use this next season. Maybe they have more. It sure doesn't seem like it given the turn of events so far. But they could also have less. I mean, that's exactly what happened to basketball last offseason is, they went out and got all those guys, spent a good amount of NIL money doing it. And so people are automatically like, oh, cool, whatever the hell they were paying L. Ellis, they can give that to somebody else and it would be a better investment of six figures. They didn't have that. The NIL at Eric Musselman's disposal at the end of last season was significantly less than the roster that he had in place for the year that he just played, because people were sick of donating to it and sick of dealing with it. And that became a big issue. They went and got John Calipari. All of a sudden they had a bunch more because you had one donor who was like, all right, cool, I'll fund this adventure here. So it's, I know a lot of people like to look at it that way. And in some cases that's probably true, but it's not always. So you can't just bank on that,
Well, I will say real quick that it is true for teams that have a successful, well-ran collective, because the collective type of money you'll have more or less, but overall it's pretty consistent because of the monthly payments and subscriptions and all that. But yeah, when you don't have a collective, you're just hoping that the donors or whoever that you've been given, hopefully they give the same next year. Well, if they don't, well, what do you do?
We can't even have a conversation about Arkansas. They've been doing the drive for 5 years.
Yeah.
What?
The 5 are up. We have reached the 5. But going off y'all's point, Landon Jackson was a returning player who basically chose to not go to the NFL and come back to Arkansas. So whoever it is that's paying these checks, which by the way, let's not forget, this isn't supposed to be a transaction from the school to the player. Hypothetically, we are supposed to live in Candyland and believe that these are coming from businesses in the state of Arkansas, which for the most part it really is. But again, to your point, Curtis, like, are they willing to, we'll pay $600,000 or whatever it is for a defensive end that we've seen play, that we know already. He's been to our events. Yeah, we'll pay and keep him. But like to your point, is that same money just going to go to whatever DN they bring in? Probably not. And so, and again, there's a lot of fans who are kind of in wait and see mode. They see that this situation with Pitman is a sinking ship and that they're just going to kind of put their feelings on hold until Arkansas gets a new coach. You think there's not people that have money in the state that are doing the exact same thing, that realize, hey, if I'm going to make a big investment in the football program, I might as well wait a year. You know what I mean? Whenever the ship is finally sunk and then it's a new, fresh start. Because, like, if I were a millionaire in the state of Arkansas, why the hell would I give, $250,000 or $500,000 so that they could go get a transfer who's going to be here for 6 months, go 5-7, and then, what is that actually going to do? And so, I think if I had money in the state of Arkansas, I would be waiting a year to spend it. I think there's a lot of fans who feel that way as well. And so, again, we're just kind of in this position where we got to wait until this ship is fully sunk before you can really try and build again.
Now, a lot of people who are involved with like the Razorback Foundation, for instance, you'll probably understand this, but it's the similar thing of the foundation. You maybe not have seen it because you didn't pay for players. It helps you with season tickets and whatnot. But people I've talked to over there is very simple. When certain teams like football, basketball, when those teams are good, it's easy to get money. It's easy to make some calls and ask for people because they're like, yeah, I had fun, man. That was awesome. Seeing how awesome it was and how good we were going to that Sugar Bowl last year. That was great. Yeah, absolutely. Here's my money. But if you're losing, and everyone's like, why would I donate to the ad? Why would I continue to support that? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is. It's the same exact thing with NIL. Yes, you can sit here and say, you got to get better players. You got to do this. You got to do that. Sure. But if people aren't seeing the results on the field, they're not going to be willing to do that. The alternative to that is if you ever have a new coach, a new pop, a new reason, a new thing, that also will get people to donate because it's like, ooh, it's new, it's exciting. I'd like to see where this goes. Yeah, I want to do my part to support it. But the second that it starts going downhill, people are going to jump ship. And that's what's happened with NIL. You got Sam Pittman still there. People aren't happy about it. They're not going to be jumping through hoops to try to donate to the Arkansas Edge. The Arkansas Edge has not done very well at least not where it needs to be if you're trying to be a successful collective. There's just a lot of disconnect and a lot of issues that is going to make this really tough to think that Arkansas is going to be a better football team next year. In fact, I'm getting to the point where it's going to require a miracle. It's going to require an absolute miracle to think that this football program, this football team next season is going to be better than what we saw last season.
I mean, it's going to take several of those, portal additions that are going to happen where we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be several now surprises. We're like, holy they got that dude. Whereas before it might have just taken a handful. You're going to need a bunch of them.
Well, it's funny, guys. We're talking a lot about NIL and portal and money and all these things that, look, are very real situations in college football and things that people are kind of blaming as to why Arkansas is imploding. But it's funny. So shout out to Andrew Hawthorne, who tweeted this at me today. And I've kind of talked about this a lot recently. From 2020 to 2023, that's 4 recruiting classes from Arkansas. Of all those players they brought in, 86 total. 7 of them now, with Metcalf leaving, you have 7 contributors left. 7 out of 4 recruiting classes. That is why this program is where it's at. And that's why the outlook for 2025 is so bleak. Because if you look at Arkansas's portal classes, again, everyone hates the transfer portal. The portal classes are why Arkansas has been able to stay afloat to the level they've been at. Like we said, a top 10 class in 2022, a top 25 class in 2023. I believe their class last year was ranked 26th. And those guys, I mean, you look at Arkansas's success over the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of it's been because of transfer. So it's not even the portal that's been doing Arkansas in. It's the fact that you're not able to recruit and develop legitimate SEC football players and keep them on your roster. Because a lot of the guys from those classes who turned out to be worth the shit are gone as well. And so it's like, look, we can keep, blaming money and portal and NIL, and those are absolutely factors. But it is so funny how it's just become such an obvious, oh, that's why Arkansas sucks now. It's like, no, actually, Arkansas is doing okay in the portal department.
7 out of 86 is what you said, right?
That is the number, which is pretty crazy. I mean, and also like, we're looking at
1%.
Yeah, like Cam Ball, Amarian Harris, Rashad Dubinion, Quincy Rhodes, Brad Spence, Ian Jaffard. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be your team.
That's just bad. That's just bad. And I mean, where do you go from here is really going to be the ultimate key and the ultimate question for Sam Pittman and the staff, because as you keep mentioning, this isn't over yet. I kept looking at maybe some crystal ball projections of if Arkansas is going to get any of these commits that are entered into the portal, and as of right now, no, nothing's leaning towards that. They will, but fans are just needing something. They need something to get thrown their way. A little tease that say, hey, at least you're going to get this guy, or hey, this will be exciting to see, and all that. But either way, you got to get that.
Yeah, I mean they'll probably get this JUCO DB. They'll probably get the sharp kid from Fresno when he comes Wednesday or whenever the hell that is. And that's all like depth pieces that you don't have that you will have at that point. But that's not going to make the difference in Arkansas being bad or above average next season. There's just a ton of work to do, and it's going to take them a while. And they're probably going to be in a situation again where, and you're going to have some dudes who leave after spring ball or whatever, but they're going to need to go out in that second period too, and add some guys who wind up being impacts for you when usually that's reserved for just adding depth. Like they're probably going to have to go out and get guys like a Larry Worth, a Steven Dix, who Anthony Switzer, who normally it's like, damn, we lost somebody off our 2 deep. We got to go find somebody who's got some experience, but you're going to need guys like that to hit as well. I mean, it's going to be a long-term build. And if people don't have confidence in this staff's ability to do that and churn out a functioning football team next year, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. So,
well, Curtis, you talked about your confidence in the staff. You remember, you mentioned Eric Musselman earlier. Also, you remember whenever there used to be the days where every time a player would enter the portal for basketball, you would say he's been contacted by blank, 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 and blank. And Arkansas was always in that list. And to the point where Curtis was losing his hair because he was like, I've got to keep a track of 300 players that they've reached out to and contacted. So again, we didn't know what Arkansas's roster was going to look like, but you had firm belief and understanding that they were trying, that there was guys they were in the mix for, and you could kind of at least tell they were, you had confidence that they were going to come away with something. It might not be a perfect roster, but you knew they were going to have a chance to really replace all their holes. I just am not seeing Arkansas on those lists. I'm seeing all these different transfers enter the portal. Oh, yep, he's a lock to Ole Miss. Oh, he's a lock to Texas A&M. I don't in a lot of these mixes. And the two kids, like, look, those two pieces that we're talking about, Sharp and the JUCO kid, it's not like Arkansas is competing with the heavy hitters of the world to get those guys. Like, I mean, no disrespect, but like offer lists matter. And like, if you're beating out top guys, like for instance, at Jaden Hazelwood, we've seen this football program do it. There were guys in that 2022 class. Arkansas had to beat out real legitimate programs for it, even in 2023 to an extent. Again, my optimism and my confidence is very low, and I will gladly eat crow. I will gladly eat an actual crow on air if Arkansas comes out of this thing with an awesome roster. I just don't really see the vision for it, and I don't know how other people don't see the vision as well. Although I know, let me be clear. I know a lot of people do understand. They agree with us. I get all that. I see you guys in the chat who are just as angry as us. It's all good.
Well, I will say, I don't know what would be funnier, seeing you eat an actual crow or you try to catch an actual crow to eat. One of those would be.
I'll film the whole thing and it'll be good content.
It would be make for great. Get your GoPro on your head and just go track down some crows. But I'm the same way though. I'd love to be shocked, love to be surprised, love to be pleasantly surprised. I think everybody would at this point. But man, just with that, and I'm not blaming anybody, but just that and the lack of anything from this athletic department from a standpoint of communication. I'm not saying that we deserve to know, but Pitman, we got to hear a little bit, which we'll play a video of here in a little bit from the teleconference yesterday. And I mean, it got shut down if somebody even mentioned the roster in the bowl game. So that happens, and then that's it. That's all we've had for over a week from the football program is a couple of clips of Sam Pittman talking on a phone about the Liberty Bowl and how excited he is. That's all we got. So I think people are also a little bit frustrated by that, of just not knowing anything, not hearing anything, no press conferences, no media availability, nothing. They just don't know.
Well, they're doing a hell of a job of disconnecting the fan base further from what's going on at the U of A. And I was going to save this for worst of the weekend, but because I get it. Like, I'm sympathetic to the surgery and everything like that. Glad to hear that Sam's moving around. He's been able to go to the office, and he's almost able to like walk around and stuff on his own, because he could barely do that. The last couple of weeks there, the dude was not moving around well at all. Want him to feel better. I get it. But to not have any type of communication about National Signing Day, like you want to sell optimism on the fan base, talk about the damn kids that you're bringing into the university who are enrolling next month. We haven't had that, nothing, you're right. It got shut down. The questions about the roster, which that was, and I don't know if it was like an agreed upon deal between the schools or whatever. The Liberty Bowl representatives were moderating that call yesterday. So it wasn't like Kyle Parkinson or whoever at the U of A stepped in and said, hey, we're not talking about that. It was them. They wanted to stay on topic, but to Trey Biddy's point, and I don't blame him, it's like, hey, I'm just asking about the status of the roster of a team in this bowl game, and they just weren't having it. But you want to hear something, don't you? And it's the same. Like, I want to hear something about this basketball. People wonder why there's no attendance at Bud Walton Arena for these basketball games, and why people aren't getting excited for this is because they don't feel connected to any of it. They're getting ready to go to freaking Madison Square Garden to play a basketball game at the Jimmy V Classic. It's a huge deal. It's an awesome opportunity, a great spotlight for the program. It's all good. Everything about it is positive, but you're not hearing anything about it. Like, we're not talking to Nelly Davis about playing against his former coach, or about playing against his former teammate, or about the fact that he played at Madison Square Garden last year and had a huge game. We're not talking about the fact that Boogie Fland is from right down the road. Now he's going to Madison Square Garden to play, and he'll probably have a bunch of friends and family there. We're not talking about DJ Wagner and Billy Richmond, who are from New Jersey, or played high school basketball in New Jersey, about an hour and a half away from Madison Square Garden, that are going to have a huge turnout. We're not getting any of that. They're just pushing everybody out, and that connection's not there. And then they wonder why fans are pissed or not engaged or whatever. This is their doing, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've also, I mean, we've just really given up on the basketball press conferences pre-game. Like, they're just not happening. And again, I don't think that the U of A cares about that relationship. Like, I don't think they're caring they want to mend that road and forget us. I mean, because obviously, like, they're shutting us out as well, but we're not alone. I mean, they're shutting all media out, as it seems like. But yeah, I don't think the U of A cares to mend that relationship. But what was funny about the thing with Pitman yesterday is Pitman was trying to answer the question. He was asked it. He started to give an answer, and that guy cut him off. Which again, that's the Liberty Bowl. That's a separate thing. But again, it is just very weird where like all these institutions are like, don't talk about us. We're not talking to you. Don't talk to us. Do not promote our program. Do not promote this Liberty Bowl. Don't talk about it. It's like, I don't know. It does make it hard, and it just is very weird. That so many of these, like, they just don't want fans and media to care about what's going on.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. I feel like I'm more disconnected with the program than I was as like a child, where I just got to go to a game on an occasion and that was it. I mean, for crying out loud, I've just never seen anything like it. And I don't know if it's a coordinated deal. I don't know if it's just a coincidence. I don't know. But even going back to the teleconference yesterday, which, by the way, you can listen to on Inside Arkansas. We posted it yesterday. But going back to that, it was also supposed to be head coach and AD. Well, Texas Tech's head coach and AD was on there. Pitman was the only one, as it was said that Hunter Yurchek was traveling. Okay. So it's like even the AD, you're kind of like, oh, man. So at a time that you're supposed to, or at least kind of not obligated, but, they're doing it. You're missing. You couldn't get on the phone. And you can just talk about the Liberty Bowl. So those are the things where I'm just like, yo, this is all weird. This is wild.
Traveling back from the fair committee thing.
I was going to say, to be fair, we know for a fact he was traveling, and we know where he was. So like, we can give him a pass for not being on that phone call. We know he was doing the college football playoff stuff, right? Yeah.
No, I get that, but I'm saying just you're on the phone.
No,
you could just be on the phone. Like if you're in the air on an airplane, I'm on the phone. Like just something.
I also saw, in the spirit of defending the U of A, weirdly enough, I saw Caden here says, didn't Pittman say he pushed for the Liberty Bowl? I saw a lot of people take this quote out of context.
Yeah.
Pittman did not say Arkansas's goal was to go to the Liberty Bowl and that it's his favorite bowl and he thinks it's better than the playoff and he doesn't want him to go to. He didn't say any of that. He was literally just asked to give an opening statement about being in the Liberty Bowl, and he was like, oh yeah, obviously there was a discussion between would they go to Birmingham, would they go to Liberty, would they go to Texas or whatever, and he kind of was like, no, we actually pushed, we actually wanted to go to the Liberty Bowl, which one may or may not be true. He's saying it to be nice because he's on the Liberty Bowl teleconference, but I saw a lot of people taking that and trying to extrapolate it and make it sound like Pitman was celebrating going to the Liberty Bowl. That's not what was happening. He was just kind of giving a courteous nothing answer while on the phone with the Liberty Bowl. Like it wasn't that deep of a thing.
Yeah. That's what I always want to try to also be like very direct on things where you don't want to take anything out of context. Like, listen, if you hate Sam Pittman, you hate the situation, that's fine, but you don't need to just make things up or try to force the issue of taking things out of context to make it bad or to make it worse. But yeah, that's exactly what he was saying. But hey, listen, and I get it. He's somebody that's Memphis. They've had success there. He's familiar with it. I understand from their perspective and why it would work, but that's all we know, and that's all we've heard from Sam Pittman for over a week is that he's excited and they're excited for the Liberty Bowl. Yeah. And I don't know when we're going to hear from him again. No clue. Yeah. There's no end in sight. Let's just hope it happens soon.
The Liberty Bowl can help you land great players from the state of Tennessee and the city of Memphis, like Patrick Kudus.
Yep. Maybe that's the way that they get him back.
Yeah.
My
Kudus is like, man, I saw them play in Memphis. That was awesome. I got to go back.
My biggest takeaway from that teleconference was Joey McGuire just planting the seed that he wants to be the Razorback coach in the future.
That is definitely a thing that happened. Talking about he had season tickets, was going to War Memorial every year.
Has a plastic Razorback hat somewhere in his closet. He was all over it to the point where it was kind of like, dude, you probably want to say something about your team if you want to, encourage your fan base to travel to Memphis for this game. But yeah, I found that interesting the way he just kept talking about it. I know he was asked a couple times. I'm like, man, I guess I'm gonna look into his resume because whenever there's a, hot seat situation or whatever, we might have to put him on the hot board because of that. People love those connections, man. Love the logo.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, we know it's a prerequisite. If you're going to be the head coach at Arkansas, you have to have some sort of connection to the U of A, or you have to have been a Hog fan. And so that now makes him a real candidate.
It just made me laugh too, because he got to the point so ridiculous where somebody actually asked him, "He's like, hey, so who's your mom going to be rooting for in this game?" It's like, how did we get to this point where it's like that? You're asking about the coach's mom, being like, hey, is she going to root for Arkansas in this game? Because that's how much he talked about it. Like, that's the vibe.
He was like, yeah, she's a Razorback.
And then we would have known. We would have put him on the big board quickly for all of that too. So, but yeah, folks, again, we are going to do our best to keep you updated on all things with the transfer portal here on Inside Arkansas. It is a crazy, chaotic, unpredictable thing. So we appreciate all of you tuning in. So be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas on YouTube, and check out InsideArkansas.com and everything, because we're going to be on top of it. We're going to do our best, and it's going to be wild over the next few weeks. And don't forget that also going to have Pot at the Palace. Curtis Wilkerson going to be taking on the Big Apple. It's going to be like Home Alone 2. You know, he's going to be up there at the Plaza Hotel and hanging out and going to, asking Donald Trump for directions. It'll be great. So he's going to be up there giving you all the coverage for the Inside Arkansas as Arkansas and Michigan. What's the thing called again? Is it the Turkey Showdown, or no, that was the Thanksgiving thing. What's this thing called?
The Jimmy V Classic.
That's important. That's a good one. I like that one. Yeah. Whatever it was called. Yeah. That's something dumb. But anyways, so Curtis is going to be up there. So safe travels when Curtis goes up there. And have you been to New York? I haven't been, but one day. I bet you there's a ton of Razorback fans that are going to be up there, though.
Yeah, Michelle flew there yesterday from XNA, and she said it was all Razorback fans, which was good.
Love it.
Folks already getting up there. I fly out in the morning. I'm sure it'll be the exact same thing. So it'll be good.
Are you more excited for the New York trip or the Little Rock trip on Saturday?
I am more excited for the New York trip, obviously, but I will say when they go play in North Little Rock on Saturday, it will be the best atmosphere they will have played in so far this season. So it just will be.
I think that's 100% true.
It is. It's 100% true.
I totally agree. I will always say that. And listen, when Bud is rocking, I mean, it's second to none. I get it, but it hasn't been. And you know how it is with that one game there in North Little Rock. It gets weird. It's always a weird game, and I'm sure it will be again. I don't even remember who they're playing, UCA or something. But I mean, it'll be packed, it'll be loud, and it's usually a good time.
My favorite thing is when the lights don't work like it did last year. Worked fine for the women's game beforehand, but then the lights, and they're like, oh, well, the lights got to warm up, and I'm like, the lights have to warm up? You just had them on. Like, what did that mean? So there's always spooky stuff going on down there, but it is a great atmosphere and is a great time, and should be hopefully Arkansas's coming off a big win against Michigan to really get the place packed out and atmospheric. It'll be cool.
They need to do it. All right. And if nobody's watched the basketball video I put out this morning, give it a listen. I'd appreciate it. But my entire premise around that was like, it's time for Arkansas to start passing the eye test. They just haven't done it yet. And they're one of just three schools. It's Arkansas, Texas, and South Carolina are the only schools in the SEC that don't have a win in the first two quadrants of the net rankings. And Arkansas is the only team in the SEC that doesn't have multiple wins over power conference opponents at this point. Come on now. I get it. It's a process. They got to get healthy. It's got to click, whatever. That's all fine and dandy. But it's time for them to start looking the part, and it's their last opportunity to showcase themselves in a spotlight opportunity where they have trailed the high major competition that they have faced this year for 117 out of 120 total minutes of basketball. Time to get it figured out. They need to have a good showing in this game.
Curtis, you got to do whatever it takes because fans need this. I don't know if they can keep handling these L's that they keep taking. Like they need it. So you have to, do whatever it takes to get it done.
Do it, man. I've been very vocal about I'm getting sick of traveling to these games. They win. When we go for the NCAA tournament, they win. Anything else we travel to for Arkansas basketball, they just don't show up. They got to show up on this one. I'm not missing Madison Square Garden. And if they lose and y'all want to blame it on me, that's okay. I understand. I'll take that L, but damn it, they need to come out there ready to play, man. Look,
I know you have a good record in the NCAA tournament, but it would definitely put some heat on you going into March Madness if Arkansas loses this one, because then there's starting to be it becomes a real narrative.
Have I lost my fastball? I mean, people are talking. I don't know. I mean, the arm still feels good, but we'll see.
It hasn't been great for really many reasons. But this would be a nice little I don't want to call it a pre-Christmas gift, but it would, I'm saying it'd be nice in a December time where tensions are high among all Razorback fans. It'd be nice to get a little positivity in there. That's all I'm saying. So, but yeah, we'll have all the coverage from up there at Madison Square Garden as Curtis Wilkerson takes on the Big Apple. I will say just real quick for our Alumni Hall question of the day presented by Alumni Hall, speaking of the transfer portal, check it out because guarantee you when you walk in there as a Razorback fan, you won't want to hit the transfer portal, be a different fan because they got some great apparel over there. They got the highest end stuff. So you can shop them online at alumnihall.com/Arkansas-Razorbacks2. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience with Alumni Hall. I was simply asking about the transfer portal. Do you like it? Just do you like it? And your choices were yes, no, and only when it helps the Hogs. Because I feel like there's an honest answer in that for a lot of people. And I was hoping they'd be honest. But a very simple thing of, do you like the transfer portal? 62% say no. They don't like the transfer portal. But 29% says only when it helps the Hogs. So throw that into the mix. 10% say yes. But how many people, I don't know, I'm sure you guys get it, but a lot of people just say, I hate the portal, or this is what the portal's ruining this and that and all the. It's like, well, again, I think a lot of people love the transfer portal when it helps you. Just like NIL. You love the NIL if it helps you. But if you feel like you're behind the eight ball or you feel like you're losing out on some stuff, suddenly you're not so eager to join and be a part of the transfer portal or anything like that. So,
yeah. I mean, I like the transfer portal. I like the, just the mystery of it, the excitement of it, the intrigue of it is all cool. I like the fact that you can go and get impact players and add them to your roster. That's all great. But I will say it's dampened the, what I think makes the college experience special, which was, guys coming in, I get it. I sound old or whatever, but developing through the program, you have them for 3 or 4 years and you just become more attached, I think, as a fan. And it wasn't so transactional, the relationships before, and they are now. And that's because of, obviously NIL, but also the portal is involved there too. So I think it just makes it a little bit more difficult to feel as connected to the teams as maybe you want to, or you used to. But overall, I don't mind the portal.
I pretty much agree wholeheartedly with that stance. Like, obviously it changes things a little bit. And yeah, that sappy college feel that we love is lost a little bit. But at the same time, I also didn't love it before whenever players had to sit out a year. And if their coaches left, they still weren't able to transfer without having to sit out a year. And I know people got waivers and stuff like that. So it's like one of those things where, sure, we don't want it to be the wild, wild west, but you also don't want players stuck at bad situations, stuck where they don't want to be, and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely a middle ground somewhere. I wonder if we're just going to get to a point where the whole sit out a year thing might have to come back, especially for players that are entering the portal for a second time. Because I think that's the one thing is we had the one-time transfer thing where you could do that, but I mean it seems like the laws are just all out the window where it's like you can transfer 3 or 4 times and it doesn't really impact anything. It's kind of wild. And I remember back in the day when grad transfers were this special Ruby that nobody had ever oh wow, this guy's graduated and he can still come and play for us. It was the craziest thing. But I agree with most of you guys. We're one, I like it when it helps the Hogs, of course. But I think there's a middle ground between how it was before, how it is now. There has to be some room in the middle. And I think eventually from a legislative standpoint, we've got to find that middle ground.
Yeah. No, I remember, speaking of the grad transfers, I remember how big of a deal with Jeremiah Masoli was leaving Oregon, and he got immediately eligible because he had a parks and recreation degree that would transfer to some sort of shenanigans that were pulled off. But him, Russell Wilson, I remember that was a huge deal when going from NC State to Wisconsin and all of that. Yeah, those were so few and far between, and now it's just getting chaos, absolute chaos that's going on. All right, let's go ahead and get into some of your chats, folks. I know that you've been patiently waiting on with us and everything. A few of our super chats, we always want to show appreciation for that. Joel just says, time to have a conversation about Hunter Yurchek. There is a time for that. We are having a conversation about him. But right now, we got to hear from him first. We got to know what's going on. Maybe one day we will. Maybe he'll send out a tweet that's not good luck or good win. Something like that would be nice.
Famously hasn't been discussed, Hunter Yurchek.
Aiden says, change it to the Liberty Mutual Liberty Bowl.
I'm in for this.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
And have Andrew Ellis sing it. Yep, that's it. Yep. have that. I will say about the Liberty Bowl, I'm always going to give myself credit for this. It was one of my better tweets. It was about 2 years ago when I said Jefferson threw a touchdown pass to Washington in the Liberty Bowl. God bless America. Because it was KJ Jefferson to Ty Washington. That was one that I'm like, I thought of that. I'm like, that's a good one, John. That's a good one. Most of your stuff is just random crap, but that one was actually well thought and put. All right, a few other chats here too. I just love this one from Angel. Will stick a feather in my ass and tickle me pink. I don't care what the context is. That's just great.
I started that one for that very reason. Yeah, that's well done, I think.
Yep. Angel, you're a wild chatter, man, but that one is a good one. I'll say that. Hickory Hog 94 says Arkansas should have a damn near blank payroll to go out and get guys. Shout out Whitty. Let's see if they can get Broden and drop the ball on this transfer class. Oof, rough. Well, I know we talked about that as far as it's not as easy as just getting off the books and whatnot, but I appreciate it. He's without eligibility. They need to get Hudson. Honestly, guys, they may have to go get Hudson Clark back. I'm not kidding. The way that the secondary's just been gutted and he can come back, they may have to, as far as experience goes, you may have to actually find ways to try to get him back at this point in time. Ryan says, Inside Arkansas, money or coaching? What are you guys hearing about why we keep losing players?
Well, I mean, it's all of the above, man. Yeah. You know, depends on the situation. It varies. And that's not a cop-out answer. It's just true. Like some really good players wind up pricing themselves out of range. And so they're going somewhere where they can get the money that they're looking for. Others are, not happy with their playing time or want to be coached by somebody else. It's a little bit of all the above.
Yeah, for sure. What do y'all think Tykees Crawford's reason is? Because I see Tykees Crawford has just recently entered the transfer portal. After I pinned him in as the starting right guard for the or the starting right tackle, maybe right guard, right tackle, either one for the Liberty Bowl.
I did not see that.
Probably wants to play. And honestly, and this is no shade at Tykees Crawford, but I don't know why coming into every year, the staff continued to say, no, there's a battle there. He's coming. It's just a matter of time. And then he never got an opportunity. So either they were just up there lying to people or he didn't get an opportunity. Either way, this is a dude who was a really highly rated recruit, wound up having to go to Charlotte for a year, played there, and it just hasn't happened for him at Arkansas. So if he's got one more year left, I hope he goes somewhere where he can actually play and show for himself.
The best moment of Tykees Crawford's career was whenever he predicted Arkansas to win the national championship a couple years ago. Y'all remember that? He was hammered at a bar and someone interviewed him. I don't know who it was. And he's like, I'm telling you, mark my words, Arkansas Razorbacks, national champs.
Still got time, still could happen one day. But where would he transfer from? Because he originally committed to Arkansas and he was it was Charlotte. Okay. Huh.
He was like a 4-star recruit, and I can't remember what happened. If it was like academic or something, but he ended up having to spend a year at Charlotte. Because I remember when he came to Arkansas, even back then, it was a big deal. Everybody was really excited about him. And then, like you said, Curtis, every year, I mean, it was when Dalton Wagner was still at Arkansas, we were hearing that it's just a matter of time before he passes him up. He was supposed to beat out Luke Jones for left tackle as well. He was supposed to beat out Marion Harris. He was supposed to beat out Keyshawn Blackstock. And it just never happened. Weirdly enough, Tykees Crawford's first career start was in the Liberty Bowl 2022.
That's right.
And he got hurt on the first drive, and then a true freshman of Marion Harris had to come in. So maybe that would have been the turning point if he hadn't got hurt.
Man, yeah, I remember the you mentioned Luke Jones. It just throwing me back to remember when he just stopped playing. Like he could come back another year, and everyone's like, "Hey, this guy could be really good." He's like, "Nah, I'm just done playing football. I don't want to do it anymore." It's like, "Oh, okay, see you. Good luck." Okay, so other questions here in the chat. That we want to get into. Ty says, Inside Arkansas, can y'all put together a starting 22 and we update it as we add people? I mean, yeah, going to try our best to do that, but sheesh, right now, again, it's all so much up in the air. I was looking at just trying to make a little bit of a roster needs and everything. I was like, I just wrote down all position groups as far as position needs out of the portal. So, but we will do some things like that, but it's difficult at these points in time.
Jordan Anthony, wide receiver 1, Taylon Green, QB 1. That's about all we got right now.
Yeah. Maybe throw in
Cam Ball and Xavier Sorey. There we go.
And hey,
for now, yes.
No Hudson. You got throwing Hudson Clark in there too. Come on, guys. He's gonna be there. He's gonna play.
Oh yeah, he'll be there for the ball game for sure.
Yeah, he will. Hayden also says, "Are we worried about Travis Williams? Or are we worried Travis Williams is leaving with all these defensive dudes bouncing. I'm not now, but I'm telling you right now that if it's not happening, whatever. But Xavier Sorry, if something like that happened where he says he's coming back and then he enters into the portal, suddenly I'm going to get very concerned that that's what's going on. But right now, I'm not. Not at this point in time.
I mean, they had mass exodus last year on the defensive side of the ball. So I
All
think
their linebackers left. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't players leaving hasn't stopped Travis Williams before. I think, and frankly, you know, a lot of fans have tried to make this case. You can make a case that like he's not going to fight super hard to keep guys that he didn't recruit, you know, and so he might want to quote unquote get his own guys, something like that. But yeah, so I don't know if it necessarily means that, but I agree with John. Where like if maybe like someone like Sorry, who he did recruit, he leaves, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, wait a minute. Yeah,
that could really start some problems there too. And also, it's a funny comment from a guy who watches us on Twitch. Shout out to you. But he just says, as a barber, I love this show. It's a perfect evolution of beard growth. Thank you. And we'll take it however we can get it. Yeah, glad we can help it out with that. I don't know. I'm sure. I think what's up?
Shout out to Twitch.
I know, right? People think it's just for people playing Fortnite and stuff. You know, there's Razorback Sports Talk on Twitch too. All right, let's just be honest about it. Also, Zach, I think you guys started this, but he says Mississippi State went 0-8 in conference and are getting Jackson Arnold. That's crazy. Let me throw something in there too. Just saying, for my sauces, talking over there to somebody who is involved, their NIL has been upped big time.
Oh, they got bankrolled.
$8 million
big time. Yeah. So yeah, that's if you go 0-8 in conference and you're trying to hit the portal hard, those are the things that you kind of need to do. You really need to get that money. But that's a huge get for Jeff Lebby.
Are they really getting Jackson Arnold?
He got a prediction from like one of the On3 guys to go there. Wow. My only question is like, what are they going to do with that other kid, Michael Van Buren?
I thought, yeah.
I mean, hell, and also like, are we sure Jackson Arnold is good?
I don't see that. I thought about that too
4 years ago, but like,
I thought about that too, and the only thing I was like would add to it would be like, okay, well, it must be Lebby. Like maybe Lebby can, you know how Lebby can do quarterbacks, man. Maybe it's just something about him. Where he's like, yeah, I'll
Oklahoma connection there. Yeah, that's right. Should have put that together. Yeah,
yeah. He's give me this quarterback. I promise I'll turn him into a 5,000-yard passer. Like that. Yeah, I'm sure that's probably a big part of it.
This could be a like Kyle McCord situation where it's like he went to a blue blood and wasn't good enough to like really elevate that program, but you take him in Syracuse and you're like, hell, this guy's a star. It could be a situation like that, but my immediate reaction was some random team is going to get a damn good young quarterback in Michael Van Buren. Like I don't know if he's going to go to the group of 5 level or what, but I think that kid's pretty good.
Okay, so I guess you retweeted this, Curtis, about there's a kid that has an offer in the transfer portal for Arkansas, James Thompson. He's a defensive lineman. Looks like, and he's posting about all the offers that he's been getting. Got an offer to Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Illinois. Old Bert Bielema got him, and he's from Wisconsin, defensive lineman. So, you know, there you go. Yeah. See, little action.
Defensive line, man.
Luke Fickell steals from us. We steal from him. You know,
that's right. How did what's his name end up being up at Wisconsin this past year? The linebacker that transferred up there,
Thomas. I don't know.
Yeah,
he was starting early in the year, but I stopped paying attention after week 1.5. But no, I mean, this Thompson kid would be like the exact kind of guy they need to bring in. I mean, he's got 5 career sacks, 3 this year, 2 the year before, has played like actual snaps at Wisconsin, which obviously is going to go up a level, but like experienced, played football before. You should get as many of these guys as you can. Not that these guys are going to like move the needle and change your program, but Arkansas only has 3 defensive linemen who have played like any football at all. So if you can just add any guy like that has played and can, you know, be a rotational defensive end, you'll take it.
Also, I love this. Just wanted to share this retweet or this tweet from Javante Herndon, former Razorback wide receiver. But he just says a lot of good talent will soon realize they played their last game of their college careers by hopping into that portal.
That's true.
Like, that's a good point.
100% true. I mean, Trey Biddy, I want to quote Trey Biddy because he said this one time. He said, the portal is not a good place to be for average players. Yeah. Because think about it. If you're trying to bring in a portal guy, you're either bringing in a Jackson Arnold, who is a former big-time recruit who hasn't played well yet, or an older guy who's a starter at a smaller school. That's pretty much the 2 guys you're looking for. You're not looking for the redshirt sophomore who hasn't played at all. You know, you're not looking for the redshirt junior who was like an okay starter and then got benched or whatever. Like, it's really you're not going to be high up on anybody's list. Hell, did y'all see Ty Washington, the offers he was tweeting out today?
South Florida, Who else?
Florida A&M.
Yeah.
So like, and look, and I know he was maybe kicked off the team. Very, very different situation, but it's like Ty Washington's a guy that like a lot of people like, and he's a pretty good player, but it's like it's not always, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna have a ton of offers. I'm gonna be able to go wherever. But you just gotta hope you can be like Jordan Crook and just fall ass backwards into a playoff team.
How about that, man?
It's crazy. I can't get over that. I'm gonna bring it up every stream because I just can't get over that.
Yeah. Yeah, just knowing that says there's guys like that, and then others that were close. You think about Pooh Paul with an Ole Miss, or even all those players at UNLV. Not saying that they were 100% in the running, but I mean they were a good team that could have found a way into it. A lot of former Razorbacks on there at quote smaller schools. So it's like, yeah, maybe you're not at the big SEC school, but shoot, you're in the playoff, man. I'll trade up with that any day.
Honestly, dude, if you're not getting poached, don't enter the portal. Unless you just really don't like your school or whatever. But if you're like an actual player in the 2 deep and you're not getting like poached, like for instance, Pooh Paul obviously got poached. Luke has obviously got poached. Patrick Kudas, all these guys don't have to wonder if they're going to get offers because they know they're going somewhere. If you're at a school and you're like in the 2 deep and might play, if you don't already have schools reaching out to you, do not be like, oh yeah, I'm going to enter the portal and then people will find out about me. Like it doesn't really work like that these days.
We have so many people chiming in from Twitch right now.
I love it.
It's almost like, hey, we're here.
Yeah, I guess maybe I should have been advertising the fact more that we're on Twitch because people are all excited. Yeah, welcome in. I think that I don't know much about Twitch other than the fact that just again like video game streamers are on there. But hey, if there's an option for us to stream at a certain platform, we're going to find a way here on Inside Arkansas. So. Yeah, appreciate the Twitch watchers. It's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, so we'll get to more of your chats, folks, and we'll continue to talk about the portal and keep you updated on it as well. But let's go ahead and hop into the best and worst of the weekend, presented by the Leroy Lounge on Dixon Street. We're going to be there Thursday night, this night. So now that we know Arkansas and Texas Tech, you talk about a fun simulation we're going to try to put together on EA Sports College Football. They're going to play it in the Liberty Bowl. The rosters, we're going to try our best. We're going to try our best to make it weird. So, but be sure to come hang out with us. Great food, great drinks. Got golf simulators, game simulators, great for the families, the kids, everything right there at the Leroy Lounge on Dixon Street. And don't forget also, great place to have any sort of business meeting, or if you want to have some sort of event, they have event planning there where you can reserve things too. So check them out. It's the Leroy Lounge on Dixon Street. All right. So I'll go ahead and start us off, guys, with the best and worst of the weekend. My best is I want to give a shout out to the College Football Playoff Committee because they actually put SMU into the College Football Playoff. I'm not saying that SMU is going to win a title or that they're better than any other team or anything like that. It's just there's always this mindset, and sometimes it's justified, but this mindset of people like, oh, they only care about money, and so they're only going to put in the teams that will make money, will get Alabama's box office. They only want to do that. And I was halfway expecting them to. I was halfway expecting to be like, hey, if they can find a reason not to put SMU in there or find a reason not to put in Boise State, whatever it is, they're going to find a way. And they didn't. SMU lost their conference championship, as other teams did too, and it didn't make them suffer, didn't hurt them. And so I just wanted to give a shout out that they proved me wrong. They really shocked me that they did that. So shout out to them for getting it right, getting SMU in the playoff, because I think they deserve it. I think that they could, I don't know how much noise they'll make, but I think that there at least will be really fascinating to see how this 12-team playoff all comes together, which, by the way, we'll talk about in a little bit on our SEC update.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That was one of mine too. Just I was happy to see that they did that, especially the way that they set it up. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's part of my worst of the weekend too. But the way that the rules were set up, I thought the committee did a good job of the way that they filled this thing out. If they wanted to have a case for Alabama over SMU, then Alabama should have been ranked ahead of SMU going into conference championship weekend, to where it's like, all right, SMU wins, then they can leap them because they played and they earned a spot in their conference title game. But you really didn't want to set that precedent where you punish them for making it to their conference championship and losing. So I was happy with the work that they did there for sure. That was my main one. The other one that I did just want to point out, shout out to Joseph Pinion, man.
Yeah.
Just absolutely balling out for Arkansas State yesterday. They got a huge win over Memphis, beat the crap out. I mean, they were up double digits almost that entire game. Mm-hmm. I think Memphis was like 16th or something at the time in the AP poll. that's a really nice win for those boys over at Arkansas State. A few former Razorbacks over there. So good on Joey P. He got the hard hat after the game.
He also has that dog in him.
That's right.
That's good stuff. You love to see that. I mean, you love to see him thriving. It worked out for him. That's good stuff. And yeah, they kicked their ass. I've got to go in the UFC department, but also in the Arkansas department, because Bryce Mitchell was on the main card of UFC 310 over the weekend in Las Vegas, which is where he did most of his training camp. So good to see it work out for him. I hope his farm, I'm sure he's happy to be back on the farm today in Searcy getting after it. But Bryce Mitchell fought Cron Gracie, who is not a great fighter. He fell to 5-3. He's not great in MMA, but comes from a very prominent family who helped kind of bring jiu-jitsu to the United States, bring jiu-jitsu to MMA. And so it was like, a nice little showcase for Bryce. Honestly, I feel like the UFC gave him this matchup because they like him. But here's how it went for Bryce. John, I don't know if you were able to see the video yet, but here it is. It's kind of in that little corner there.
Oh yeah, that's a good move. I know that move. That's a good one.
Boom.
Pink.
Yeah. Your teeth like those elbows, dude.
Do you think that hurt?
I think it definitely hurt.
Okay.
Bryce claimed in the press conference after, he said that he could tell when he slammed him that his eyes were kind of rolling back and that he was not all there. Like, he dazed him bad when he slammed him, and so the elbow just put him to sleep. But love to see that from Bryce, who's obviously, Bryce, by the way, is like a grappler. He's known as a grappler, and he was going up against a guy who is a great grappler as well. And so Bryce was like, you know what, I've got to use my elbows. I like to see that.
He needs to get back to his iconic quotes. I need those again. Which I don't know if he had any, but like
most tame interview he's done in the octagon afterwards. He said he had a good line. He said, "The only person who can make America great again is Jesus Christ."
It's true. Good
But
point.
then he went to the press conference and he was very pro Trump, so he wanted to make sure nobody got it twisted. Bryce Mitchell is a Trump guy, but he had said on the mic, the only person that can make America great is Jesus.
Well, I mean, he had to cover all the bases, like he had to make sure he covered them all. So yeah, I love that. Hey, anytime an Arkansan who loves Arkansas, which he does, you can say about his craziness or his politics or whatever, but hey, we root for him. We root for Arkansans all day long, man, to be successful no matter what. So we're rooting for him. Worst of the weekend. Actually, no, I want to throw in one more best of the weekend. Sorry. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, but shout out to my guy Barry Odom and getting a new job. He's done a great job over there at UNLV, and I know that they lost in the conference championship, but he took over a program there that went 1-11 and then 2-10 in the previous years, and immediately got them to winning double-digit games. So the dude's a really good coach, and he's going to be over there at Purdue. So wish him nothing but the best of luck to him, and hopefully he gets it done. But as far as a worst one for me, I know that people will be like, oh, you do this too, John, you whine. No, I'm sick and tired of coaches, college football administrators, whoever, whining about the playoff. I'm talking about Ole Miss. I'm talking about all these idiots out there, man, where, okay, I will fully admit, is the playoff perfect? No, it's not. And again, I know we'll talk about the college football playoff in depth, but my thing is, it's the first year, just like everything else. There's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some things they figure out. They're going to try some things here and there and whatever, and it'll adjust. But some of these people who are just like, we deserve to be, based on what? Like, I just don't understand it. And if somebody was 10-2, I could be like, okay, maybe. But these teams are 9-3 and had bad losses on their schedule. Like, we deserve. No, you don't. So stop complaining. It's not going to change anything. The committee's not going to be like, oh, gee, Jerry, we made a mistake here. Do you see that guy's tweet? Do you see Lane Kiffin's tweet? What are we doing? We didn't even think about that. We better put him in. It's not going to change anything other than just making you look like a whiny baby. So it's just really annoying that people, mainly coaches and administrators, fans, whatever, but coaches, administrators, all those people whining about it really got on my nerves over the weekend.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I mean, I kind of already did one of my worst of the weekend rants. And again, just give us it's a Zoom world, man. Like, give us a player or something to preview these games. Like, help us help you get people excited about this basketball program. I'm a big basketball guy, obviously, and it's really hard to promote it, share the stories, get people excited, engaged, and hyped up. And there really hasn't been much access to them. So that's a personal frustration. But I will say, not the college football playoff committee, because I think they did it right. But just the rules and the way this thing is set up is my worst of the weekend. And you're right, John. It's a learning experience. Like it's their first time doing this, so they're gonna have to go back and reevaluate some things here. But like the 4 highest conference champions, getting the 4 seeds or whatever, the top 4 seeds and the buys, that's kind of screwed everything up. The way that they've gone about this, put the committee in a tough spot to where, for example, Oregon, the only undefeated team, they go and they win the Big Ten championship game. And sure, you get a bye, but your reward is you get to see either Ohio State or Tennessee in your first game. Which path would you prefer? But I get it. Like, you don't get the bye or whatever, but you beat Penn State in this game. But then you look at Penn State and now they get a home game in 10-degree weather against SMU, who people wonder if they should have even been in there or not. And then you go or you go play Boise State. You don't go there. You play Boise State on a neutral where you're going to be favored by like 2 touchdowns in that game. And then you probably get a Georgia team that's not going to have their quarterback. So like Penn State loses the Big Ten championship game and they get the 6th seed, and they have a much more favorable path to get into the title game than Oregon, who went undefeated and beat them Saturday night. Just a weird deal there in terms of how that worked out. Maybe it needs to be a deal where the top 5 conference title game champions or whatever all get a spot, but you don't get those buys up there at the top. Like, maybe that needs to go based off rankings or something. I don't know, but they're going to have to tweak some things, because that's just one of I think a handful of examples there where you're like, this is kind of crazy. Like it's almost not even worth it to get one of these higher spots,
Yeah, I agree. Like, and I agree with both parts of your statement of they need to kind of tweak this automatic qualifier thing or how they're going to seed it. And I also agree that the committee did a great job given the circumstances. Like, I don't have any qualms with it. I was actually trying to explain to Daniel Shee on the way home from B-Dubs the other day. I was trying to explain to him that the committee had set the precedent with SMU when they were at 7. I was like, once we knew that, we knew they were in the playoff. Yeah. And he tried to argue with me, but I was like, I'm just telling you, even though they lost there's just no way. But I think that I'm cool with there being automatic qualifiers for the 4 power conferences. I don't agree they should get the top 4 seats. Like, I think you should get in, like, you should get your bid, but I think the committee should just, who are the top 12 teams? Let's rank them and let's do the playoff that way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that winning the Big 12 should get you a bye over, a different, like over Texas even, you know what I mean? Like over a lot of these teams. And so I agree. I think you should just seed it 1 through 12. I've also seen some people that say after the first round, they should reseed then. Which even then you might still run into some trouble or whatever. I don't hate that, but I mean, again, regardless of how it plays out, my whole thing the whole time though has been in Penn State's situation, maybe kind of changes this or throws a wrinkle in this, is for anybody that wants to complain about anybody that gets in or whatever, like say SMU had just won their game and Bama got in with 3 losses and people would have pissed and moaned about that. If someone goes out there and wins 3 or hypothetically 4 games in a row and wins the title, I don't know how we're going to come out of this and be like, no, that was the wrong team.
True.
You know what I mean? It's like whoever goes out there and like, we're going to find out who the best team is. Whoever wins the title is going to earn it. And so, yeah, are there going to be years where some teams get into the playoffs when they probably didn't deserve it? Sure. But it's like, I kind of just I really like the premise of this whole thing. And I think it made the regular season a lot more fun, especially the last few weeks when you start kind of letting your imagination run wild of what all can happen. My worst of the weekend, I'm rounding it all in to say, again, I'm dunking on the people who told us that the 12-team college football was going to ruin college football. College football may be ruined, but it ain't because of the damn playoff. I actually think it's just a lot more exciting this year. And I'm thrilled to watch this playoff, but we'll find out in a couple of weeks. We might watch it and feel like actually this sucks.
Yeah. And it just always makes me think of the year itself and how crazy it's been. Like if it was a previous year and you had the whole 12-team playoff, it probably wouldn't be as madness as it is now, but it was just one of those years. Which again, we'll talk more and also have some other things in your SEC update. But real quick, guys, I don't know if you have any more, but my final worst of the weekend, I meant to bring this up and I just forgot. But the stats, man, the whole Kentucky and Cal thing, that like the Field of 68 tweet that they had today over the weekend.
I wrote this down. I'm glad you said it. Yeah,
I meant to bring up Kentucky beating Gonzaga. That was tough.
Yeah, which was a good win. I mean, Kentucky's good. Give credit where credit's due. They're a really good basketball team right now. We'll see, but this is the thing. I should have brought the tweet up, but in case you didn't see it, Field of 68 put up a tweet where it was a graphic, a side-by-side, a comparison. And it's like, Mark Pope just won more games in 5 weeks at Kentucky when trailing by 16-plus points at halftime than John Calipari did in 15 years. It shows that in 9 games, Mark Pope is 1-0, and in 15 years, John Calipari is 0-6. And I immediately saw them like, I feel like you're mainly playing a compliment towards Cal because he's only trailed by 16-plus points 6 times in 15 years. And also, how many coaches, I'd like to know of other places besides at Kentucky, what's their record over their past 6 games in games that they were trailing by 16-plus points? Mm-hmm. I just felt like it was a really dumb tweet. Stretch, people say it's not a flex. It's not a flex. It's a stretch. It's a stretch Armstrong stretch of what you're trying to do. I get it. They get engagement from it, whatever. But, man, they were trying really hard on that one. Really hard.
It's cherry picking is what it is. And the other part of this that's ironic, and I responded to somebody's tweet about it. You do that, like you put that stat out there the same week that a John Calipari coach team came back from a double-digit deficit to win a road game against an ACC program. So like it wasn't 16, but they were down 11 or 12 or whatever. It's like that just happened, And so it's like, what the hell are we even doing here? It's ridiculous. And it just takes away from Kentucky. And I quote tweeted Matt Norlander, who we're mortal enemies. He doesn't know it, but we are. But like it was fun. The back and forth last year when he sold on Arkansas, he wound up being right. And that's okay. And I gave him his credit for that. But no sooner than Kentucky, that was an incredible game. I mean, they were down 16 at halftime. They didn't have their point guard. They come all the way back. They lose their backup point guard. They had 5 players out there on the floor who couldn't even dribble. And they still found a way to win that game against Gonzaga. Very well coached. Mark Pope, he's doing an unbelievable job of just squeezing every ounce of potential out of that roster right now. And kudos and hats off to them. So then why do you have to make your first announcement after the game and saying, Kentucky just did this. This never would have been a thought. It never could have happened the last 3 to 5 years under John Calipari. Shut the hell up. Why do you have to make it about John Calipari? That's taken away from Kentucky. It's taken away from the job that Mark Pope's doing. That's disrespectful to him. And if you get your rocks off by taking shots at Cal, congratulations, I guess. But man, there's nothing should have been taken away from Kentucky in that moment, but you got to get in there and make it about Calipari. That's frustrating. Even Big Blue Nation, after a win like that, they don't want to hear a damn thing about Cal. They want to celebrate their team and their coach. It's just ridiculous. It really gets on my nerves. And so, when Cal was doing it was a really nice tribute that he had to Bob the other day. And one of the things he said when he was talking about how, hey, me and Bob, we would have been friends and everything. And he was talking about how, believe it or not, I do have some good relationships with folks in the media. Not everybody, but I do. And that's part of the reason why he said that. And I'm sure he did some things to alienate himself at Kentucky, but good Lord, move on. It's nauseating, man.
I just want to add real quick, Andrew, that even Bobby Regan, my friend over at Barstool, was a Kentucky, just over the top guy. He even texted me when I tweeted that. He's like, dude, that graphic was stupid. He's like, that didn't make any sense. There's pointless in all that. But also I wanted to tweet back. I was like, okay, but what about 15 plus points? Like, what about that instead of 16 plus points? What's the record in that? As if what about 14 plus? Is the record change? But yeah, you talk about cherry picking, just finding this specific number 16. Come on, get out of here, man.
Well, I would say, call me when Mark Pope erases an 18-point deficit. That's what I'm going to say, actually.
Yeah.
And frankly, we won't get to know if Cal can coach because he's not going to be down by 18 points this year. That's what I took from it. But no, really, Curtis, though, it is funny how I get it. Arkansas and Kentucky have this whole thing, and we've participated, we've thrown our shots, we've made our jokes and all that. But it is kind of funny how many Kentucky fans will bring up stuff to us as if we had never heard of John Calipari. We just found out about him when he became the Arkansas coach. It's like, we understood the circumstances of what we were doing. We understood that you and Cal had a weird relationship and his time at Kentucky was coming to an end either way, and that we just were the natural next evolution in his coaching career. We also understand that Kentucky basketball is a national brand, a national program that is almost certainly going to have a lot of success after Cal. Like we didn't have any misconceptions that like Arkansas stole Cal from Kentucky and they're going to go to the gutter while Arkansas goes to the title. Like that's not how we viewed it. As much as we want to make our jokes and all that, we honestly felt like this was a situation where both programs, this is a good thing. Like it kind of made sense for all parties involved. I know we're not allowed to say that with this whole rivalry and all that, but it is just so funny how many people like Kentucky fans, like, or media people or whoever that are like hoping that it's going to be this thing where it's like, see, we told you. And it's like, dude, we understand that Cal brings in recruits and doesn't always get the most out of them. Like we were fully aware of all that. And it is just so weird how like we got to keep doing this conversation every Arkansas Kentucky game. We have to rehash this whole big picture thing. It is kind of exhausting.
I will say, I cannot wait for February 1st in Lexington.
It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, Arkansas gonna whip their ass. I mean, for sure.
No one's going to clip that at all. Nobody from Big Blue Nation, Andrew, is going to clip that and have you remember that.
Oh, they'll have plenty to. They'll have plenty to clip in the week leading up to it because Arkansas could not win another game the rest of the year leading up to that. I want to be talking.
No, dude, because I think we've told this, but all three of us, me, Curtis, and Andrew, we're all going to be there in Lexington. Like we got half the week that we're going to be up there in Lexington just for this game. So I can't wait for that. But if Arkansas wins that game. No one knows how they think I'm obnoxious. You guys may have to bail me out of some prison after getting my taint handed to me, and I get the crap kicked out of me by some Big Blue Nation people there in Lexington. Like it may have to happen.
It's a win. It's a win-win for Arkansas. Is the beautiful thing that people don't understand about that. It's going to be, if Arkansas goes up there and Kentucky wins this game, man, they were at home. Emotional for the crowd. Like every factor going into this leans towards Kentucky. Like it leans in their favor. And, for Arkansas, it's like, one of those nights, man, ran to a buzzsaw. Arkansas is clearly their Super Bowl. All right, fine. Exactly. But if Arkansas wins, can't tell us nothing. No, there's not a way that this ends poorly for the Razorbacks, in my opinion.
There's another silver lining, Curtis. Like, regardless of whether or not Arkansas beats Kentucky, whether they make the Sweet 16 or whatever, like when the three of us, when we talk, our face moves. And that's always something you need to be blessed that we have in our favor. When we talk, our face moves with it.
I'm going to pack some, or we're going to have to go buy some cigars, and all that. If they win, just doing a live stream of Pot of the Palace afterwards. I mean, I wonder what the poor people are doing over here in Kentucky. I got for a win
for another week. We might just spend the entire month of February in Lexington.
Do our shows every day from the KSR bar there, just every day, letting everybody know about it. It's going to be fun.
Are we going to announce our presence there, or are we going to go incognito? We got to go check it out. I say it every time, but that KSR bar,
you got to go check it out.
No, I was going to tell you. I mean, you guys do whatever you want. I'm making sure everybody knows where I'm going to be.
I like that.
I'm making sure everybody knows where I'm going to be. I mean, what's the worst that they can say? Mean things? Heard that already. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. We can't wait. Jeez, that's less than 2 months away.
Not that far away.
We know it.
Oh, yeah, somebody during the whatever the hell they want to call it, Selection Sunday thing yesterday, the college football playoff reveal, somebody tweeted out and was like 96 days until the real Selection Sunday. And I was like, really? We're under 100 days already? That's nuts, man.
It's moved fast, man. It really has. And so that's a good segue into our SEC update presented by Rhoback. And a lot of people are looking for some great gift ideas for the Christmas holiday. Well, there's nothing better than Rhoback. If you go to Rhoback.com, see all the great apparel that they have for men and women. You can use our promo code HOGSBUY20. Get 20% off your first purchase. And it doesn't matter how many things you put in the cart. If you use that HOGSBUY20 promo code, it's 20% off of it. So check it out and get you some Christmas shopping done a little bit early with Rhoback, as they have hoodies, shorts, polos, joggers, pullovers, quarter zips, everything there at Rhoback and Rhoback.com. Okay, real quick for your SEC update. We mentioned a little bit of the playoff, but we talked in depth about it. But just right now, guys, gun to your head. Who are you picking to win it all? Just right now. Win it all in college football in the playoff. Just given the circumstances of matchups now that we know officially what it's going to look like.
Man.
I think Georgia's going to win.
They don't have a quarterback.
They're going to win.
Yeah,
Just
boys
don't.
having Tommy John, they say.
Yeah,
But
I don't
also,
know.
their quarterback wasn't good to begin with, so it's like
That's kind of what I was saying and thinking. I was like, Carson Beck really didn't do. I mean, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't like, oh man, this changes everything to me. So I don't know. I like Georgia in it.
If James Franklin didn't exist, I'd go with Penn State because of their path, but they're not going to win a big game.
I hope SMU wins that game so badly. They'll be so great.
I'm just going to go with Oregon, man. They haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
Why would they know?
So I haven't lost confidence. Like, I think Texas is still very much alive. Also, if you just look at their path, I mean, you got to play Clemson, which, like, that's not going to be an easy game. But I mean, Texas should beat Clemson. I think we should say that. Then they play Arizona State. They'll obviously be favored by like 10 in that game. Then they would play Oregon in these semis. I think the winner of that Oregon-Texas game is probably the team like that. Those are the two that I really have my eye on. I think that's the real national title, in my opinion.
If the ghost of Quinn Ewers returns to be a confident quarterback, then I could buy into that.
Will Quinn Ewers get Tua Tagovailoa?
He should.
Yeah, dude. He cost them that game down the stretch, man. It's crazy.
I will say too, the Ohio State thing is fascinating because Ryan Day, they lost to Michigan. They were getting booed on the field by their home fans, and here they are with a home game against Tennessee. If he loses that game, they may fire him, or at least like it might get that bad. Well, maybe not fire him, but like, see what I'm saying? Like, it will be next level awful for him. Because it's like, hey, we had a big game against the team we should have beaten in Michigan, our rival. You lost that, so we're already mad as hell. But now, you go out there and you play Tennessee, team that we feel better in, and you lose it again at home?
They're like 10-point favorites against Tennessee, too. It's crazy.
Yeah, for Bet Saracen, it's 7.5 right now for Ohio State. Yeah,
I understand they're at home, but they cannot stop the run, and Tennessee's got like the best rushing attack in the country. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Vols go up there and beat them.
It's going to be interesting. At the same time, Ohio State's only other loss in the season was at Oregon by like 2 or 3 or whatever it was. That might be. I mean, they're not going to go at Oregon. I guess they'll play them on a neutral site. Mm-hmm. Would y'all be completely stunned if Ohio State beat Oregon?
Oh no.
I mean, they played a game and they were pretty. I mean, clearly it was a toss-up game that anyone could have won. Wouldn't that be something if Ryan Day, who, like you said, very well could be on the hot seat if he loses in like a scorching hot seat, also is still very much alive to win the title, if you ask me.
Yeah. In fact, if it wasn't for Will Howard not knowing how much time was left on the clock at the end of the game, which I know y'all remember, they were in field goal range. They had a timeout, and he ran the ball. It kind of pulled what Tennessee, Nico's quarterback, did against Arkansas. Ran the ball, and they ran out of time because he just thought he had more time than what he did. They could have kicked a field goal to win it, but they didn't. So, yeah, I could see it too. I'll ask the opposite question. What's the team that you say has the least chance of winning it all, though? Like the absolute bare least chance of winning it all?
Indiana. Although their path doesn't suck, man, because I don't know. Like, Notre Dame's not a world beater. And then, again, I keep going back to Georgia's quarterback not having an arm. I would probably still stick there. I'm actually of the belief that SMU is good. I don't know that they're championship good. And I tell you what, Arizona State sure as hell sold me over the weekend. But yeah, Boise State. I see that one coming. I didn't even think about them. That might be a decent one.
Boise State's they have one of the worst odds, I believe, to win it. But I will say their path, not that. I mean, you're looking at SMU, Penn State. Neither of those teams, I would say, are like world beaters. And then you also might get Georgia on the backup quarterback or whatever. Like of the top notch teams, like if you're making the case for Boise to win, Georgia's probably their best chance just because they don't have a quarterback. I don't know. I mean, Indiana's the one because they would have to win 4 games, which that's a big deal. And also, like, I think they're like really like a fringe top 25 team, if you ask me.
Yeah. Had they played more than one top 25 team, that'd probably be the case. Yeah.
No, yeah. Indiana, let's be honest. If Indiana and Arkansas played on a neutral field, and it were actually the real teams that played this year, I'm not saying the current Arkansas, but if the actual teams that played this year played and they were in a neutral site, I think Indiana would be favored by like 5 against Arkansas.
Yeah, I could see that. Which
says a lot about their chances to win the freaking playoff.
Yeah.
Also, let's see, real quick, as far as part of the SEC update, there was some SEC basketball mentioned Kentucky in their big overtime win over Gonzaga by 90 to 89. Man. Wild game. And Kentucky, They were down 16.5 as we talked about, but scoring 45 points compared to 29 there against Gonzaga. Big win for them. Oklahoma beats Alcorn State. Fortunately, the Fighting Curtis Wilkersons couldn't come up big against Ole Miss, lose 86-53.
That was a game into the second half, though.
Yeah. I'm about to say it was 30. They were up 6. Ole Miss was up 39-33, and then Lindenwood got outscored 47-20 in the second half. So didn't
have the horses to finish the race. It's okay.
It's tough. South Carolina beats East Carolina 75-68 in that one too. And then how about Missouri beating the number 1 team Kansas, storming the court?
They dog walked them too.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give them credit. And man, I knew that Missouri and Kansas was a rivalry, but that's some hate, man. I mean, how many times, I don't know if you guys saw any of it, but every single time the camera panned to the crowd, there were double birds flying. There were a bunch of FU Hunter Dickinsons flying. Like they ain't like the Jayhawks, man. that was a buzzsaw situation.
Bill Self was like horrified by the court storming after. He was like, I understand it's a big game, but I mean, let's relax a little bit. They must have been saying some crazy stuff.
Yeah. Did you see Dennis Gates called a timeout with 6 seconds left? The game was over, and he went over to Bill Self and was like, hey, if you want to get your guys out of here before this happens, you can do that.
Dennis Gates, man of character.
Man of character.
And also credit to Dennis Gates. Let's give him some props real quick. Winless, obviously, in 2024 in SEC play. I mean, we all kind of looked and we were like, ugh. I mean, bringing him back, it doesn't really. And Missouri's still going to lose plenty of games down the stretch here, but like, he's at least like keeping the ship afloat a little bit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That was a fun watch. I know we're doing the SEC update. I'm going to go ahead and go on to another game. I was excited to sit down and watch UConn at Texas. Worst game I've ever watched of basketball. I mean, Texas looked lethargic, uninterested, like the Moody Center was dead. Just really a missed opportunity for them, man. Like UConn, they bounced back a little bit earlier in the week. They beat Baylor, a shorthanded Baylor team at home after that situation they had in Maui. But that was really a good opportunity for Texas to pick up a big win. They just dropped the ball, man. Boring ass game. Was not a fun watch.
Yeah, not at all. But yeah, I was going to mention that game. Texas A&M did beat Texas Tech 72-67. That game was pretty give and take and back and forth, but they got that win. Vanderbilt beats TCU 83-74. LSU beats Florida Gulf Coast. What was it? Dunk City is what they used to call them. 80-71, and the Mississippi State takes care of business against Prairie View A&M. 91-84, which is kind of weirdly close because Prairie View A&M is 1-8 on the season. So
SMU is now Dunk City, right?
Yeah, Andy Enfield.
There now.
Hey, dude, you want to talk about a well-traveled man? Andy Enfield, Florida Gulf Coast to USC to SMU to changing the entire college basketball world. What a guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, Tennessee's your new number 1, by the way, in college basketball, according to the AP. So.
Have we spoken about Tennessee one time on this program? I mean, obviously they're very good. Like we all assume they'd be good, but it's like I feel like we've talked a lot about Auburn, a lot about Bama, a lot about Kentucky. We've not spoken about Tennessee one time.
Consistency, man. Yep. It's just it's kind of what they do. And Michigan will be ranked 14th for this game tomorrow against unranked Arkansas, who went 2-0 this week, but dropped 3-4 spots in the receiving votes because they didn't do anything impressively.
No. Makes sense. Hey, you got to earn your spot back. And you know what? It can go a long way if you beat Michigan tomorrow night.
That's a fact.
Yeah. The game will be on ESPN, 8 p.m. for those of you who are going to be checking it out and wanting to see how it all goes down. So then we just got a few minutes here. We'll wrap up, but not SEC update necessarily, but this Bill Belichick thing to North Carolina seems to have some legs, and it cracks me up because it's going to be an epic failure of epic proportions for North Carolina if they hire Bill Belichick. You think Bill Belichick's going to deal with NIL? Think he's going to deal with transfer portal stuff? Think he's going to be like, I just think it's a disaster waiting to happen. But
I think you're right about that. I honestly and I don't think that's the consensus. Like I think everybody else is like, oh, eyeball emoji. I agree. It's not going to be this like sunshine and rainbows thing, especially because part of the deal apparently is that his son is going to be the head coach after him.
I wouldn't do that.
Heck no.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't really seem like worth it. You know what I mean? Like if you can get Nick Saban for 5 years, then yeah, you'll agree to whatever terms he can. But it's like Bill Belichick is very that's a very different situation. A guy who frankly wasn't like crushing it in the NFL when he quit, and also seems to have retired and had no intention of going back. I can't imagine you're getting a highly motivated Bill Belichick who's ready to attack the portal, like you say.
The son in waiting thing was one of the hangups with Kelvin Sampson in Arkansas back in the day before they got Muss. I remember. One thing I will say about that, and I don't think it would work either, but wasn't the thing with Bill Belichick is like he was in charge of all the personnel decisions. He was like the head coach, GM, everything. So like I don't know that he'd be horrible at it, but it just doesn't strike me as something he'd really want to deal with, especially when he's got like a 23-year-old co-ed of a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's also like 72 years old. It's like
he's got other shit he's got to do, man.
Yeah,
you went from having these conversations.
You went from
Tom Brady guy. I've got to point out, he's like a well below 500 coach when he doesn't have Tom Brady as his quarterback. Would just point out. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's like you went from one old coach in his 70s to another old coach in his 70s, and you think it's going to be okay? I don't buy that.
We've got to fire Mac Brown. He's over the hill, and the game has passed him by. Let's bring in Bill Belichick.
Yep, that solves all your problems. I saw people in the chat saying it, and yeah, it looks like that Jaquan Jackson has officially accepted the Shrine Bowl invitation. So usually gives you a pretty good indication on what that means. It doesn't look like he's going to be returning next season. So,
which, by the way, we kind of like we had a good idea he wasn't going to be returning. Like that's not that's not something we need to stop the presses and go live again for, right? But I mean, JJ, that was kind of a question we had all wondered. Did he happen to indicate if he's playing in the bowl game?
No, I don't think anything's come from that, at least.
I feel like you got to play in the bowl game if you're JJ.
Yeah, it just is. Just a graphic was put out by the East West Shrine Bowl that hey, he's accepted it. So yeah, we'll see if he actually plays in it. But again, we're going to keep you updated, folks, here on Inside Arkansas across the board. But guys, before we get out of here, any final thoughts? Anything to let the masses know about and part ways, as we will be probably back live in 5 minutes. So somebody else will hit the portal.
Nope, I'll save my takes for that.
Yeah.
I'll save most of my takes for that, but I do want to like touch on just two very quick chats before we get out of here. Okay. One, this guy Case Harrell just crushes it in the chat. Every single comment he makes me laugh. But he said, "Do you think Coach Pitt can still hit a gnarly gainer into the pool post surgery that could impact recruiting?" He's right. I think that would. If you were a recruit that were like, you're kind of wondering, is Arkansas really where you want to go? And if you see Pitman post surgery hit a gainer into a pool with it being 40 degrees outside, I think that would have to help a little bit, right?
Yeah, that would sell me for sure.
I can't remember what Case Harrell was saying the other day, but he was cracking me up. It was going before the Miami game. He was like, with it being the Hurricanes, I'd be more worried about this game if it weren't indoors. Just because, hurricane can't get you if you're indoors. Also, I should have mentioned this in the Bryce Mitchell section. Hey, John, you would have loved this. Bryce came out to Cotton Eye Joe. And not only did he come out to Cotton Eye Joe, as soon as the beat dropped, he took off full sprint. And the security guys were like, oh, crap. Because, there's people that like walk them through the crowd and kind of up towards the octagon. As soon as the beat dropped, he took off full sprint. And like the camera crew didn't know what was going on. The security guys were like trying to chase him. It was pretty funny, but appreciated that from Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean,
that's all I got.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to end it. Well, appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching in Inside Arkansas Live. Be sure to subscribe to us here at Inside Arkansas on our YouTube page, especially because we're going to be live. We're going to give you all the coverage, not only for the portal season, but Razorback basketball tomorrow in the Big Apple. It's all going to be happening right here at Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe to us, follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas, and also check out our website, InsideArkansas.com, for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorbacks. So for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow at noon. We'll see you later, folks. Have a great rest of your